Boo.
Yeah.
Hey there.
We're here. Try to get this shit settled.
Get shit settled.
Yeah, I was running around.
Yeah, we decided to do a Sidetracks show today because, I mean, not a drunken one because, you know, it's only 3 o'clock in the afternoon. We're drunks, but we're not that bad.
Yeah.
But it's like, you know, because, we didn't really have time to watch any movies.
Yeah.
We couldn't really think of any food to talk about particularly because we've been, like, so busy.
We had to go to the show. We had to go to Astari Nite show last night.
Yeah, we were at
good.
the show last night.
And then tomorrow we have to go to Memento Mori.
Mori.
So we got a packed schedule for right now.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Yeah, we didn't see anything.
Yeah.
Tonight we're going to watch Terror Train, though.
Yeah, we're going to review that for Friday.
It's up on Shudder, so if you guys want to go see Terror Train, it's got Jamie Lee Curtis. I remember when I was a kid, man. I liked it.
Yeah, it's like a slasher on train kind of.
Yeah, it was Canadian, I think, wasn't it?
It is, yeah.
Yeah. And I don't think it had much gore in it. It was just...
I don't remember. I haven't seen it in a really long time, so I'm kind of interested too. That was the one that won the poll, so for the movie retrospective. So that's what we're gonna do.
I liked it as a kid. I thought it was just scary enough. I could watch it and you know what I mean, get scared of it when I was a kid. But I don't think it had any gore, which I think made it easier for me to watch.
Because
you know I didn't have to like squint or anything when something would happen.
Oh no!
See, there was the fucking funny thing about Friday the 13th stuff. I was always squinting when somebody was getting killed. I wasn't quite sure what it looked like. And
little bitty Tom's face.
Yeah. Like or like, or looking away.
No.
Oh. Which I think kind of made you imagine the gore a lot worse than it actually was. It wasn't until like having it play on fucking cable TV like fucking 20 times over a summer. It probably took me most of that summer until where I could fucking saw every frame of the movie.
Yeah. You
know what I mean? Because they were cueing you through the damn soundtrack when somebody was going to get killed, and you knew already. Because, it was like on the fourth viewing. But I think I think a lot of that time I was blinking or flinching, when the shit was going on, and I'd catch little bits of it and try to have to piece it together.
And it's not even really that gory.
No, it was not as gory as you think it is.
The first couple Friday the 13th movies. Like, for the reputation that they have, they're super not gory.
Yeah.
Like, especially nowadays, like, because after all the torture porn shit happened, and now it's like, fucking, now shit's way gorier than back then. But back then, everybody's like, oh, Friday the 13th.
Well, I think part of the deal is that, I mean, if you're living somewhere in a damn apartment building in New York City, that movie doesn't mean the same thing as it would to a person like me who is in Mississippi, where if you looked outside your damn window at night, there was no other house lights. It's just woods out there.
And then there was Jason looking
so
at the
Jason could be out there.
With his machete, waving his machete at you. This is for you, buddy.
Yeah. So I think living in a rural environment made it a lot more intense.
Zach asked, out of curiosity, what's your favorite non-horror movie?
Oh, man.
Ooh. Okay, well, does Mulholland Drive count as a horror movie? If not, then that. But if it does count as a horror movie, A Clockwork Orange, Amadeus, I don't know. I mean, Amadeus definitely isn't a horror movie.
Tila's in the comment section with a new photograph of somebody else, probably. She has not verified that is her in those photos. She's just teasing everybody.
Trying to keep it on the down low.
Yeah, she's trying to keep shit on down low.
She says, thanks so much for recommending Time After Time. I watched it last night and loved it.
Who said that?
Tila.
Oh, yeah.
That is a great fucking movie. I love that movie so much. That movie was on cable every fucking hour, it seemed like, back in the early 80s. And I saw it probably 400 times. And every time, like, you'd be scrolling through the channels and it would be on, I would just sit and watch it again.
Yeah.
It was one of those kind of movies. So I think I have it memorized at this point. I've seen it so many times.
Jack the Ripper meets fucking H.G. Wells. That's a good
It's
movie.
A great fucking premise.
Great premise.
It's a great premise. And and I love the acting in it. I just love everything about it. Yeah. I love that fucking movie.
Yeah, if you like that one, check out Somewhere in Time. That's a good one, too. Christopher Reeves.
Yeah.
He time travels back to the past to see a woman he falls in love with. She was just a famous actress. He found a photograph of her, and he's able to kind of like do some kind of weird transcendental meditation, and he slips off into the past to meet her. Yeah, it's pretty good. And,
Zach asks, would you count There Will Be Blood as a horror movie? Because it may as well be in my mind. I don't know if I don't know. It's kind of like a horror movie.
Yeah.
That's like, you know, I need to see that again. I saw that in the theater when it came out, and I remember really liked it.
For me, best non-horror movie would have been either Road Warrior or fucking Fury Road.
He was just watching those yesterday.
Yeah, I was watching.
I could hear it across the house.
Yeah.
I heard, "Witness me!"
Yeah, witness!
I was like, oh, he's watching Fury Road again.
Yeah. All those dudes committing suicide so they could go to Valhalla. Kamikazes.
I am awaited in Valhalla.
Yeah.
God, I love that movie.
Yeah. Well, they weren't going to live long anyway.
I was like, that's another movie that I could watch over and over and over, just like The Shining.
Yeah.
If you'd asked me, like I said, when you were in there watching Fury Road, I was just like, oh, I kind of want to sit down and watch it again, but I have other shit I got to do.
Well, what happens with Fury Road is that you just see more and more of it. You see more and more stuff that you'd missed the more you watch it. Like guys in the background doing things that you didn't see before, or the way a certain guy was dressed who ended up, like, remember the pole cats who were on the big poles and they were throwing them onto the damn tops of the vehicles? You'd see ones in the background trying to do stuff, you know, fucking get, you know, they'd land and come off and then get ready to fight, and then some of them were trying to figure out how to fucking disconnect certain parts of the vehicle to get the vehicle to stop, and it's happening so fast.
I mean, it's a visual feast, and like you said, there's just always something interesting shit going on in the background. It's like really immersive. Yeah,
and then all the vehicles that get destroyed, you catch snippets of in the back. The damn vehicle car carrier that they had was getting more and more full, and it had the wrecks of the vehicles that wrecked. So they were picking all those wrecks up. They didn't leave them out in the desert.
Well, yeah, that's like pieces. You can use that for other shit.
Yeah, and then there was a bunch of infantry guys holding on to the fucking the car carrier too. They were loaded up in it. So not just cars, but guys in it.
Yeah.
Replacements. So as you took casualties, you had replacement troops.
Replacement guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just like, you know, it's like a brilliant movie. It's one of the best movies that we've seen recently.
Yeah, and Road Warrior's good too.
Yeah. Somebody said, what about Thunderdome?
I talk about Thunderdome. Thunderdome's okay.
It's all right.
It's okay. It's not a bad movie. It's the weakest out of all of them, but it's not bad. It's got dialogue problems. It could have been fixed in edit, the dialogue, and some of the score is not really what should be in a movie like that. You can tell they're trying to take that movie kind of mainstream Hollywood. And Mad Max was never intended to be mainstream Hollywood. It was the vision of one man. And I even like the first one. The first one was his first attempt, you know. Was it him, George Miller?
Yeah.
George Miller's first attempt. And it has problems, but not bad problems. Not at all. It's just the edit is not quite as smooth. There are parts in there that really shouldn't be in there, like some romance scenes between Max and his wife. That's not really, you don't really need that. I think it slowed down the pace of the movie. Or you didn't need them to be that long. They could have cut them off real short. Because you're talking about an action movie. You don't need a love scene in it.
Fuck that shit.
No. Don't need it.
Is it a chick flick?
Nope.
Get out of here with that bullshit.
No. Well, no, if you're going to have a love scene, it can only just be a few seconds to let the audience know that it did happen.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to dwell on it.
He loves her, okay? Let's move on.
Because the main audience is males, and it's fast-paced movie. You know what I mean? I don't want to get bogged down in this fucking sentimental shit. We know he's hitting, and he's romantically involved. We already know that. Okay, we don't need to like wallow around on how much he's into. We already know. Okay. You know, so, yeah, but it just slows the movie down. You know, you're waiting for more action, and it also it kind of had a couple minutes of like sentimental music, which kind of changes the tone of the movie. It shouldn't have gone that way. You know what I mean? Just like, okay, we know what you're doing, but he was doing that because they did that in other movies.
Yeah,
he's not doing it the way he wants it. He's doing the way he did it the way he thought it had to be done. I think.
Yeah.
You know, he could have been a little more innovative when that, because he never did it again.
Yeah, that's
never did that again.
Yeah,
I think he realized that was a mistake. But no, Mad Max 1 could really be enhanced with a tighter edit.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I hadn't seen it for a long time, and then when I rewatched it, I had forgotten how it had like a lot of scenes like that.
Yeah,
you know, because I think I was getting it confused with The Road Warrior. Zach is talking about a movie called Clute with Jane Fonda. I remember that one. I remember liking that one a lot. Actually, I have to watch that again. Mr. Roboto says, Jenny, how about an apocalypse chick flick? I have seen a couple like that. I'm not a big chick flick person, you know? I don't really like romance movies. I don't really like
There's a
anything
couple
like that.
rom-coms that are good.
There's a couple that are good,
Yeah.
but it's not usually my go-to because I don't know. I don't like them. But Tila said one of her favorite movies of all time would be All About Eve. Ooh, that's a good one. Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. Xanada says do a retrospective on Taxi Driver. Yeah, we probably should.
Whatever Happened to Baby Jane? That was a fucking trippy old black and white movie. Where,
Yeah, I like that movie.
Yeah,
a
one
lot.
sister had the other sister fucking. It was kind of like.
Did she feed her a rat at one
Fed her
point?
a fucking rat, cooked rat. And I think she fed her a fucking cat too. Didn't she try to later on, or a pet cat?
Man,
I don't
yeah,
know.
it's been I last time I saw.
Yeah,
it
she's kind of like torturing her sister, who's now an invalid, and it's because what was it? She was an ex-star, and the other one never made it, and she was kind of like a. It's kind of like that Stephen King story. What was it? Where the woman fucking trapped or fucking captured her favorite author.
Misery.
Like Misery, kind of. That's how I remembered it, but it's been a long time since I've seen it. Might be worth seeing it.
Phil asked, what was your favorite old black and white movie? The Haunting from 1963.
That was creepy.
Yeah, I love that movie. That's probably one of my favorite horror movies of all time. And the novel is fantastic also.
I think my favorite black and white movie would have been The Loved One.
Yeah.
That's a fucking trippy ass movie.
Yeah, that was a good one. I mean, Dr. Strangelove. If
Dr.
we're going to talk about like old, like, you know, I really like a lot of old. Actually, I just recorded a review for one. It's going to go up, when is it going up? Next Saturday, probably. Yeah. Of a movie that I had never heard of before. Shudder just added it not too long. It came out in 1961. It was called Night Tide. And it was Dennis Hopper's first starring role. About a dude that starts dating a girl that maybe is a mermaid.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I think
it's super cool.
Now that you mentioned Dr. Strangelove, I think I had to put that above The Loved One.
Yeah.
That's a better movie.
I mean, that's a brilliant fucking movie.
Yeah. They're both good, though. They're both kind of similar in some certain way.
I love those old black and white movies, man. I love silent movies, too.
Yeah.
One of my favorite silent movies was fucking The Hands of Orlac.
Yeah.
I loved that shit.
Yeah, T, if you haven't seen Dr. Strangelove, that's one you should see. It's got Peter Sellers in it. Slim Pickens is in it. James Earl Jones is in it. A young James Earl Jones is in it. Yeah, he plays one of the fucking B-52 bomber crewmen. I think he was the bombardier, wasn't he? Bombardier or the navigator, one of the two. Gonna drop a damn atomic bomb on the Russians. We're going toe-to-toe with the Ruskies in nuclear combat. And he got his fucking, puts his helmet away and puts his cowboy hat on. Fucking... And the fucking Russians were throwing everything at him, and so were the Americans trying to stop that bomber, because it was they sent him. They gave him the code accidentally. A general went rogue, an Air Force general went rogue, and just launched launched the bombers on the Russians, on the Soviet Union by accident. It wasn't approved. And just that one bomber going through all that shit to drop the bomb. They just dropped one bomb. It's fucking funny. And they didn't even get to the primary target, the secondary target. It was just an alternate target. It was just a weather station, wasn't it?
Something like that. Like I said, it's been a long time since
it was just a nothing target. But they didn't know it. The Russians had a damn doomsday device that would blow up and destroy the whole Earth if you dropped an atomic bomb on them. Good movie.
It is, yeah. It's really good. Fourth Row Down asked if we had seen Sorcerer. Was that like the William Friedkin one? I think I saw it, but it's been a long time and I don't remember anything about it. So that's another one that I have to re-see. Zach said Fatal Attraction is top 10 for me. Yeah. I love how it starts out like a regular sex thriller, but kind of turns into a drama or character study. Yeah, that is also a great movie. Yeah,
it's Dr. Strangelove. It's Peter Sellers. He plays at least 3 roles. I think he plays 4 roles in the movie, as different roles, and it's Stanley Kubrick. So that's one you got to see. It's really good.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and a lot of it was based in truth. You know, the little secret plans and shit that they had up NORAD or fucking Nuclear Bomber Command, the way they did shit, and fucking how they had all these backup plans. The American leadership could go underground and live for decades. They even had a secret hotel that would do that. It had a nuclear fallout shelter underneath it. But they retired it because they built a better one, and we don't know what to have. It's my opinion and my belief based on things that I saw in service and just the rumors and shit that I've seen on television mixed in with it. There's old mine shafts that have been sold off to the government, federal government, that were just fucking extensive, just thousands and thousands and thousands of miles of fucking mines and tunnels underneath the United States. They're doing something with them. There's stuff down there.
There's stuff down
There's stuff down there.
Some kind of stuff.
There was some kind of a sodium mine, and it was underneath the Gulf of Mexico. You got into it, I think, from Louisiana, and it went way underneath the ocean. And down in there, I think it was sodium is what they were digging up. It was something that you used in making aluminum. But it's abandoned now. I saw a program, they went in there, and there's a whole 1950s underground town in there with paved streets, parking lots, street lights, fucking traffic lights, like red, stoplights and traffic lights, and apartment buildings, and apartment complexes, and underground football fields and baseball fields. Because at one time that company had thousands and thousands of miners living in there. So they had a whole town for them underneath the. And if you were walking, they were walking around in it, filming it, and it was like you were walking around outside at night. You had no idea you were in a mine. But they just cleared out so much.
That's pretty cool. I would totally live down there.
Yeah, and the ceiling, because they were kind of strip mining in there, the floor got dropped and dropped and dropped until the ceiling was fucking, hundreds and hundreds of feet above you. And so you couldn't see the ceiling. It just looked like a starless night. And it had an elevator that would take you down there. You could take whole vehicles. And I tried to find it again. I couldn't find it. It was something I saw on the History Channel. And they have whole parking lots of cars abandoned underneath there. They brought cars and vehicles to the mine, but they never got any of them out. As they broke and went obsolete, they just threw them into the corner or just parked them in parking lots and left them there.
Just leave it there.
They just left them. It wasn't worth it taking it up.
Well, yeah, it'd be too expensive to get them out of there.
So they're down there.
What's the point?
And there's trucks going all the way back to the 50s just parked underneath there, and it's just covered in dust. And they go into the apartment complexes, and it was just spooky as shit. There's no power. They were going in there just with flashlights and stuff. All the beds were made. You still had clean dishes put up in the... It was like they were going to come back any minute. The calendars were still up.
Spooky.
Yeah. There were
What if you could still get in there down there? I could totally go live down there. I could squat. Nobody would even know I was down there.
At the time they made the program, the company that owned the mine still owned it. It was just closed. They let them down in there. But some of those places, people hadn't been there since the 80s.
Interesting.
And they were doing this in the early 2000s is when that program came out. They hadn't been there since the 80s. Spooky.
That is.
And there were houses, too. Not just apartment buildings, but houses. Like 1980s looking houses on streets, like in a neighborhood. But it was weird. It was underground. And they were just going into these random houses. They were open. And everything was just put away and nice and tidy. And because the people when the mine closed down, people just kind of packed up and left.
Yep.
But there was still furniture in there and everything. They just took personal belongings.
We'll have to find that documentary because that sounds like super cool.
So it makes you wonder. You would think that governments would buy up stuff like that and use them for emergencies. And that's what happens in Dr. Strangelove, that they had some mine shafts that they could move into in the event of a nuclear war and live down in there.
Mr. Roboto asked, how's Pookie today? She's good. She's sleeping. She's sleeping up in her little tree that has the three little apartments. We call them her little apartments. Yeah. She usually sleeps in the top one, but sometimes she sleeps in the middle one. And sometimes there's like a little bowl she sleeps into. And then Tila's asking, I usually don't like musicals, but I do have faves. What's y'all's favorite musicals? She says Wizard of Oz and The Wiz.
Grease.
I really like Grease. I really like Hedwig and the Angry Inch, Rocky Horror Picture Show, Velvet Goldmine, Moulin Rouge. I tend to like newer ones, like newer musicals, as opposed to like older ones, I guess. Although I like some older ones too. I even like Grease too.
Yeah.
I know it's a bad movie, like I said, I've said before, but it's not a guilty pleasure because I'm not guilty about it. Yeah. If you don't like it, then step off.
Yeah. T said she liked Being There too. That Peter Sellers movie. That fucker was awesome.
I know, I love that movie.
What's his name? Chauncey. Yeah.
Chauncey the Gardener.
Chauncey Gardner. He'd just walk up to a black woman and ask for food. That's fucking funny.
Tila said I sound much better today. Yeah, I actually kind of feel I'm still a little bit congested, but I'm pretty good. I was kind of worried because when we went to the show last night, I was like, man, I don't want everybody thinking I have the Rona and I'm like sneezing all over everybody. But I actually, after I had a couple beers, I didn't really feel like I had a cold anymore. So much beer. Yeah, the show last night was really, really good. We hadn't seen Astari Nite live. Well, they hadn't even played live up here for 2 years, something like that.
Yeah.
And anytime we get to go to Will's Pub is good, because I love that place. Although we walked in there, we haven't been in there for like a couple of years, and everything was like moved around.
Yeah, it was no longer an Irish pub. You didn't notice that?
Well, yeah, I did notice that, but
it was no longer an Irish pub. It was just more of a modernized kind of fucking.
Yeah, they moved the bar into the front room.
Yeah.
Which used to just have pinball machines and stuff like that in it, and then like in the back room they put like a pool table and tables and shit. And they have like a bigger menu now. Now they have like Cuban sandwiches and boiled peanuts and all kind of stuff like that. And I'm pretty sure, because remember before, like we thought they didn't have a liquor license, but I'm pretty sure they have one now. Yeah. Because they had like hard liquor, but that we just drank beers though.
We were hanging out with Starry Night, and old boy was fucking tripping about he was going off on boiled peanuts. He goes, they got boiled peanuts here.
Yeah, I saw that on the sign.
He had to explain to me. He's explaining to me like I don't know. We're from Miami, you know. We don't have boiled peanuts there. and I go, I know. It's because, you know, South Florida is basically Central America. And these guys are all Central American descent. You know, the Starry Night is a Hispanic band. You know, Hispanic goth band. I go, yeah. You know, kind of like I didn't know. He's explaining it to me. I said, I know, man. You guys have been there longer than the United States has existed. He's like, yeah, man. We're Spanish Empire guys.
It's like, we don't know for boiled peanuts.
Yeah.
Although he was really into him. Ilya was, but then Howard was like, yeah, I didn't care for him. I'm like, yeah, I'm Team Howard. I don't agree with him. No. I don't like him either.
No, Ilya was like, man, those things are good. You got to season them right.
Yeah, you put like an Old Bay and shit like that. Yeah. And another thing too, it's like it's funny because the show, I mean, it's open to 8, so it's really weird like to be all gothed out and to go to Will's Pub and it's still daylight outside and be like drinking and stuff. Sherry Mouse was there, she was DJing. And then, so we were there, we took the kids with us. And then we were there for like a really long time before the bands even started. But there was like some good music and shit. And then the opening band were called Violet Silhouette. They're from West Palm Beach, which is near Miami. And I guess Astari Nite wanted them to come along, and it's like, man, they were really, really good. Yeah. I had never heard them before, but they were really good. And it was really nice to see that a big, huge, I mean, it was a big turnout. I was like surprised. Yeah. And it was all like 95% like death rock people. Yeah. Which you don't usually see them.
It's all coming
at
back.
Memento Mori or anything like that, because that's kind of more, I guess that's more like an industrial synth pop, more of a vibe, even though it's still goth people, but when Astari Nite plays, that's when you get like all the old death rock people and all the old kind of like.
Well, you also had like kind of a punk rock couple in there. Yeah. They had that one girl. She was probably about 6'4" and weighed about 110 pounds, and she had the damn red Ziggy Stardust haircut and everything. She was looking pretty cool.
Yeah, she had a really
late
cool
70s
look.
kind of punk rock looking.
Yeah, it's funny because it's like there's tons of like death rocker people around here, but you just don't see them out that much. Yeah, you know what I mean? So it's like every now and then like there'll be a show and then they all turn up and you're like, where the fuck are you people normally? Yeah. The kids were excited because this was kind of like... Yeah. Well, this was Alea's first live show.
She'd never been on a show, yeah.
She'd never been to one before, so she was like super excited. She's so cute because she's always kind of like... And she was saying this to Ilya from Astari Nite too. She was like, I thought that, she's 18. So she was just kind of like, she's all into this goth and death rock stuff. And she was like, I thought I was the only one like around here that was into it. And I'm like, oh, honey. No. I was like, well, I thought that too, but I thought that back in 1981. Right. Because I'm old. But and I had probably had more reason to think that because I grew up in Daytona Beach and there actually weren't that many cool people that were into that kind of shit when I was growing up back then. There was a few, but not that many. But yeah, Phil says, it is sucky when you go out where the bars are open all night and then you leave and go out and the sun kills you.
So Gramthars is looking. He said he didn't understand the appeal of boiled peanuts.
Yeah, he said they taste like warm boogers. Yeah, that's pretty much exactly what they taste like. Yeah, they do. No, they don't. To me, they do.
There's a bunch of different flavors, and it depends on whether they're hot or they're cold, and what they've been boiled in. But when I said it to Elia, he says, yeah, it's kind of like eating beans. And he goes, yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's like eating beans. It's just that instead of, they're still in the shell, so you got to take them out of the shell. But they're boiled and they end up kind of tasting like black-eyed peas, really.
Well, peanuts and beans are in the same
yeah.
family,
Right.
so that's not that weird that they taste like that.
Kind of like cross between black-eyed peas and maybe pinto beans. It's probably the closest that they taste like pinto beans. So it's the seasoning that's in them. And, it's just, in the South, up north, y'all, mostly focus on shit like popcorn. In the South, we had so many peanuts traditionally going all the way back to the 1800s because peanuts replaced cotton. Things changed and there was other ways of getting cotton, and I think a lot of the cotton stuff ended up being overseas, and it was replaced with peanuts. And peanuts could be sold off just on a global scale. You could even make things like plastic out of peanuts for a while. It's probably all obsolete now, but so we just sat around. They sat around listening to the radio, and then later on the television, eating boiled peanuts because they were everywhere, fucking everywhere, just a snack. And they were just in the boiled water. The basic thing would just be salt, but that's kind of boring. Later on, when like Cajun food started to become popular in the South, they started using things like Zatarain's crab boil or like in Old Bay, or just things that you would boil seafood in. You could put that you could put that in the water, and usually they put them into bags. They'd have the peanuts in one bag. There's like a burlap bag. And then you'd have the shrimp in another burlap bag, and crawfish and things like potatoes, because the cooking time's different on them. You'd have potatoes and corn in another bag, and you'd be throwing them into the same big old boiling pot of water, keeping it separate. And, since you already got boiling water, throw them peanuts in there. It's just like that. And it comes out, oh yeah, and it kind of tastes a little bit like seafood, and that's what they were doing.
I just always kind of feel like, I love peanuts. I love peanut butter. I'm also team chunky. So that's what Tila said because Zach asked. And so I just think they're so good roasted that why would you boil them? It's kind of like a situation with some vegetables, you know what I mean? Like with spinach or with Brussels sprouts or something like that. Like, why on earth would you boil them? Because they taste like ass.
They do not.
But, you know what I mean?
Don't.
When you can roast them and they're delicious. I'm just saying.
They're good either way. I kind of prefer them boiled, though, if I were just going to eat them. Like, if you gave me
well, that's okay.
If you gave me a selection between different. A bowl of roasted peanuts, even if they were roasted and had that damn honey glaze on them. If you gave me a choice of that, glaze. You know what I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. If you gave me a choice between that and a bowl of hot boiled peanuts, boiled in crab boil or maybe cayenne pepper, something that they were hot, real spicy, I'd take that.
Yeah, but that's you.
Sitting there shelling. And it's funny because
like, weirdo.
If the seasoning's real hot, it starts to seep into your fingertips. Your fingertips start burning after a while. I'm just sitting there shelling those things.
So it's the food that punishes you.
Oh yeah, it's just burning your fingers. It's like you've been sprayed with pepper spray. You're sitting there eating, but I like it.
Sounds great.
I like it. I like it.
I don't want my food to fight back. I don't want my food to fight
snack. It's a man's snack. It's very masculine.
I don't know. They're so mushy, though. Mushy. Mushy is not. I know, but mushy to me does not connote manliness.
If they're mushy, they're overcooked.
I don't know. The ones I had were mushy.
They're overcooked then. They just snap and pop. You eat them and they kind of pop. Like a real nice pinto bean or something. No, a little bit harder. A little bit harder. No, you know what they're like? Like a chickpea.
Yeah.
A consistency of a chickpea. That's what they should be. But they should taste like peanuts with some seasoning.
Yeah, that's the few times I've had it. That's not what they tasted like.
You shouldn't have had good ones. My dad could boil the shit out of peanuts.
I'm still not, but like I said, I'm still way more.
You get fresh peanuts with the still on the roots and everything, with the leaves and on top of it and dirt. Put them in the sink and spray them all off. Make sure they got all the dirt off of them, and then you just boil them. Yeah. cut all the greens off of them, put them in a bag or a Ziploc bag, or and have that in the crab boil. You put them in there. It's different times though. You know what I mean? Because crab and shrimp, it boils instantly.
Yeah, that takes
potatoes
like 3 minutes.
Potatoes and corn takes forever. So you're boiling the things at different times, and you don't have time to scoop all that shit out. So you just put it in a burlap bag, or a net if you have that.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah.
Mr. Roboto asked, in an Island of Dr. Moreau situation, if perfected, which animal do you become? That's an interesting question. Island of Dr. Moreau, where he was like making all that.
If I would like to make an animal-human hybrid?
Yeah.
It'd be cat.
Probably. I think I would like to be part owl.
No. No, you want to be part cat. Like a leopard.
Well, I mean, if I'm reincarnated, I totally want to be a cat.
Yeah.
Because, man, they just get to nap all day long, and that's pretty rad. I totally want to do that. Yeah, Zach says, I'm currently eating a chunky peanut butter that has the oil in it straight from the jar because I'm classy like that. Tell them what you made for lunch today.
I forgot what I made for lunch today.
We just ate it like 20 minutes ago.
Yeah. I just made a rice dish with sausage in it.
It was kind of like a modified jambalaya.
Kind of like a Spanish jambalaya.
Yeah. Like sausage
black
and
beans,
black beans.
Jalapenos. Fucking, I used cilantro cooking base in there. Some, chicken broth. Georgia sausages, sliced them up pretty thin, pre-cooked all that stuff in a pan. And then I had even had rotel in there. Mm-hmm. And then I used
it's good.
I used that Indian royal rice, that fucking basmati rice. That's what I used. I have all that parboiled rice, but I'm not real confident with that shit. The last time I cooked it, it turned into damn glue. I don't know what's wrong with that rice. I gotta fucking do some rice cooking on its own. I tried to cook a bunch of it at once, and it didn't work out right.
It's real easy for that to go mushy.
Yeah, it went real mushy. I'm thinking that rice had to be rinsed real well before used. I think maybe it's supposed to be rinsed. I got to read the instructions on the bag of that rice.
Yeah, because we don't usually make the parboiled kind.
No.
We usually make because we're usually making Indian food or Asian food. So
I'm picky about rice, but I have a big old bag of that damn parboiled rice because it was so fucking cheap.
What is that, Uncle Ben's?
No. It was just it was a Sam's brand parboiled rice. It was like a 25-pound bag of rice that I think I got for $5.
Huh.
So how am I gonna fucking say no? But the thing is that it might have not been very good quality rice, but that's why they only wanted $5. But the thing is, the Sam's brand's usually pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, usually when you get their brands,
right,
because we get their brands of a lot of stuff, and it's
I think it just needed to be rinsed, and I didn't rinse it.
Well, that's
probably what it was.
That's you need to read the instructions. I know dudes are not big on reading instructions because you think you already know everything.
See that, son?
But
see, women want to chide. We want to chide a motherfucker. See? Want to chide a motherfucker.
That's what I'm doing. I'm chiding a motherfucker.
Yeah, chiding a motherfucker.
Oh my god. Zach says, I think jambalaya is my favorite dish. That or my roommate's breakfast sandwiches. Man, there's nothing like a good breakfast sandwich, is there?
Yeah.
I have too many favorite dishes to even like. I can't even think of like a favorite cuisine. I'll eat all of it. You know what I mean? Obviously.
There's certain kind of seafoods I don't like. I don't like internal organs.
Well, yeah, but it's like, I kind of feel like
I don't like any kind of fish that's real steaky. I don't like that shit.
Like that fermented shit like they eat up in fucking Scandinavia.
Scandinavians don't really know anything about food. And this has been confirmed by other Scandinavians. These guys will let that damn smelt rot in a damn fucking jar, and then they fucking...
Hey, let's eat it.
Yeah, let's eat that shit. And it's just sticking in high heaven, they're eating it, and fucking you'll have other Scandinavians go, don't eat that shit. That shit's fucking nasty. So, confirmed.
Lutefisk. Or lutefisk, whatever they call it. Yeah, Xana said.
That was old school Viking fucking survivalist food.
It's like, you guys, we have real food now. You guys don't have to eat that anymore.
Yeah. It's a lot of stuff that people ate just because that's all they had.
Do you remember, I still remember this is one of my very favorite episodes of Kitchen Nightmares, was that restaurant and it was in Miami of all places, and it was a Danish restaurant. Remember, it was called like Fleming's or something.
Yeah.
And this couple had bought it from these old people that had died
episode.
or whatever, and they didn't change anything. And it was like everything was pink inside for one thing, which was horrifying. And it looked like, I mean, their whole customer base was like
old people,
100-year-old people.
Yeah, old people
that like came in there. And since it was Danish food, which I don't even like,
nobody knows what that is.
No one really knows what that is. And it's weird because it was like in Miami, and the cook was Cuban.
Yeah.
And he's sitting there going, it's like, what? I don't know what the fuck. I'm just cooking what they tell me to cook. Okay. It's like, I don't want to cook this crap.
Yeah.
Because everything was just like super, super bland. But that's why they got like all those old people coming in there, because they love that shit.
They love that. They don't know. They have really bad palates. Smorgasbord is bullshit. They think, oh, isn't that so fancy? No, it's not fancy. This shit doesn't have no fucking flavor. No, it's not a bit of spice in it.
Didn't they have tinfoil swans at this place too? Yeah, they had like, if you got like some particular dish, they'd make like a tinfoil swan.
What was funny is like, I think the restaurant was from the 80s, the late 80s, but it was retro even in the late 80s.
Yeah.
It was hearkening back to the 60s.
Yeah.
All right. When things like smorgasbord was a wild, exotic fucking idea. Yeah. Oh my God, that was super flavorful Swedish food. God, you know what I mean? Exotic, flavorful Norwegian food and shit. And that was something that maybe white people in the 60s might believe. A modern white people would not believe that shit was fucking exotic nor flavorful.
Yeah.
Not today. Fuck no. But
back in the old days, paprika was spicy. Ooh, that's too hot.
Yeah, don't put any of that black pepper on there. I don't like it hot. You know, and that's literally the way they were.
Which paprika doesn't even like. It's good, but it doesn't register as spicy to me at all.
You use enough of it. Hungarian paprikash, they use a lot of it, and it can be as hot as chili. I've seen Hungarians laughing at American paprikash recipes, going, oh no,
because they're
no,
mild,
yeah, they go no, because increase that fucking paprika by about 10 times, you know, and that's how much they're using. Put all in there. They said it should be as hot as American chili, you know, that's what it should be. But our grandparents' generation and beyond were not spice. They were not familiar with spices. They didn't use them. They came from the Great Depression, and they didn't have spices in the Great Depression.
Yeah, so you just kind of had to eat what you had.
And the only people that had spice pre-Great Depression would have been in the South, and that would have been, you know, Cajuns and Creole, and certain people in the South ate stuff. All your spices were fucking South, you know, and down into Mexico, too. They had them. It probably got into places like Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, by way of Texas, you know. That's probably how the Deep South got it. But now Northerners and Europeans didn't eat it. They had poor palates, very poor. No seasoning.
Dom the Bomb brought up Swedish meatballs. I agree. Swedish meatballs are delicious. Actually, we make that quite often.
Yeah. The thing is, though, it makes you wonder how authentic that is. And it's just a meatball. It's not spicy. It's very creamy and mild. You know what I mean? The main flavor in there is really nutmeg.
Yeah. Well, that's what I like about it. I like that nutmeg kind of flavor.
It's better if you use allspice instead of nutmeg. It's even better, you know. But
and you serve it with
well, they're gonna put it on
lingonberry jam too.
Yeah, they're gonna, you know, traditionally they're gonna put it on fucking like bow tie noodles or some kind of noodle. I don't like it like that. I like it better in mashed potatoes.
Yeah, I do too.
Or on rice. Because I don't like those little noodles. They don't even smell good when they're cooked. Those little egg noodles.
Now, see, I do like egg noodles. Funny. I do like egg noodles. Like, but I can have it either way. I like it with egg noodles or with mashed potatoes. That's fine with me.
But back to that restaurant that Gordon was messing with. They're in a fucking tropical environment, surrounded by all these fucking ultra cool fucking restaurants, selling fucking, I get what my grandparents would have called ethnic food, but we call just regular American food today, you know, because...
Yeah, a lot of it was just kind of like, I couldn't even tell what a lot of it was. It just seemed like...
Fish and chips place. Wasn't there a fish and chips place? There was a Cuban place near it, wasn't there?
Yeah, I can't remember.
Or was
I was trying to think of what they sold,
Who?
Fleming's.
Oh, Fleming's sold fucking bullshit.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I was trying to think of like some of the
potatoes.
dishes that they had. Yeah, everything was like just really bland.
Boiled potatoes, boiled carrots, fucking some spinach, fucking, you know, like fucking boiled spinach.
Just kind of like they had
toast.
They had some kind of like meatball or meatloaf type of thing,
Yeah,
but it looked like there
meatball.
wasn't really any spice in it.
Yeah, no, it's like something you'd get on a fucking, you know, like, oh, let's get fancy and eat some of this potatoes au gratin, you know.
It was
It's
that kind of stuff.
Real generic fucking flavorless shit. It was all some kind of gloopy, creamy, stodgy bullshit.
Yeah.
And fucking Gordon was in there and he goes, "Is this Flemish? Is this fucking Norwegian food?"
Yeah, it's supposed to be Danish.
And Danish, what is this? And the Cuban chef was like, "I don't know what this is. I don't know. This is what
So
they
it
tell
might
me
not
this is."
even have been authentic Danish
Yeah,
food.
it was just something.
That's just what they were calling it.
Just what they were calling it. And I think what it was is it was fake American, Scandinavian concepts from the 60s that had...
I think that's probably what it was more than...
Yeah. I mean, the good old days is what they want to call them of the American 1960s. When it came to food, it was nothing but fakery. I mean, it was fake shit. Everything was fake. You know? The only thing that wasn't fake would have been Paul Prudhomme shit, and that was kind of fake. Like Cajun food's fake. Paul Prudhomme came up with that. Well, he was from Louisiana, but that's not what Cajun food was. Cajun food was kind of like that, but a lot more primitive. It was just something you cooked in your house. This is generic Southern food.
Armadillo
It was just
in the half shell.
Yeah. Yeah. So a lot of stuff about American cuisine is not that old. They were doing shit in the 60s like aspic. It was like, what the fuck? Why are you making clear gelatins and putting meat in it and crap?
Knock that off.
Fuck.
Oh my god.
You couldn't get fresh stuff. Everything was canned. If it was fresh, it was kind of expensive, and it was always seasonal. So it was never around when you needed it or wanted it. Meat, I think, was better. I remember meat in the 70s and in the 80s here in the United States being cheaper and better. Not all the time, but I remember it being really good and more plentiful. I also remember there being a lot more mozzarella cheese everywhere. If you went to a pizza place that had real buffalo mozzarella on it, it would stretch.
Yeah.
You know? That some things weren't cheapened. But other things were just wrong, you know? A lot of wrong stuff. Think of how wrong fucking Denny's food was of the 80s. You know what I mean? Everything was some kind of fucking stodgy, fucking gloopy bullshit. There was nothing light or fresh or crispy or, you know, it was just...
or spicy.
Or spicy.
Yeah.
And that's the way that Fleming's place was. So fucking Gordon goes in there and just goes, fuck this, and throws all that food out and turned it into a damn. He goes, you got a Cuban staff, a Cuban chef, let him cook Cuban food. And he just came up with a fucking killer ass menu that just flew out of the fucking door. It flew out of that
I wonder
restaurant.
if that place is still around. That was an old episode.
Yeah.
That was an old episode.
Yeah, they tore all that fucking fake Swedish shit off the front of the house.
The whole thing was pink. The
whole thing was
inside,
fucking pink,
everything was pink. The walls were pink. The fucking tablecloths were pink.
Little
the napkins were
doilies
pink.
and
Holy
fucking
crap!
doilies and all this little fucking.
It was like
china
grandma's
and all
house
this-
threw up in there.
Yeah, it was all this grandmama stuff everywhere. You know, they fucking got rid of all that shit.
It was
And it was grandmama shit from the 80s.
That's what I mean. It was grandma shit like when
Way back then.
like from when I was a kid. And this was like in the 2000s.
Yeah.
And they're still like wondering. It's like, we don't know. Like even the woman that owned it, I think she said, what are we going to do? Like when all the blue hairs die? I think she called them blue hairs. I
Yeah,
thought that was
blue
pretty
hairs.
funny.
And it was, and if you decorate a restaurant like that and sell that bland ass food, you'll just fucking attract generations and generations of old people after old people after old people just recycling. And you're only going to have them for a couple years before they die. But it's a constant rotation of them. And they don't have much money. And they're going to come in there with a 2-for-1 special.
The coupons.
And not tip and do all this stupid shit.
Like that one that was in the UK that was just, what was that? The Priory. That's right. It was like that. That one was kind of the same thing because they had like the
She wanted a
buffet.
joint.
Yeah. And
A
like
big joint.
every time we see that episode,
That woman.
I've watched that episode like so many times, and that was so funny because they took it over. It was a beautiful restaurant because it was like inside like a decommissioned church or whatever. Decommissioned, I don't know if that's what they call it, but so it had like beautiful stained glass windows and stuff. But they had like the buffet and the Sunday, you know, they had the carvery, and their big thing was that they would have 2-for-1 meals. Like, you'd bring in the fucking coupon and like 2 people could eat, and you know what I mean? So like every Sunday it'd be packed with just like 100-year-old people eating for like $5 or something like that, like eating as much food as they wanted for these. Like, this is just not a recipe for business success, like giving away that much fucking food. So, you know.
What did Mr. Roboto say?
Thank you, Mr. Roboto. Tom's thoughts on southern vegan grits and eateries.
I'm not aware of any kind of vegan grits or southern vegan food. That's
I've only eaten at a vegan restaurant once my entire life.
Yeah.
I'm not like averse to vegan food really, because I've had some that was okay, but it's like I've only ever been to a vegan restaurant like one time in my whole life, and it was fine. Like, the food was good.
Well, you can make vegan grits. You can make them the way Chantel makes them. Instead of butter, she used coconut milk. It's fucking really good. Really. Yeah,
they're really nice and creamy.
Yeah.
We're giving away.
But why would you not put pork along with that? Why would you not? Why would you not do this other stuff?
Or put shrimp in there.
Right. If you're moralizing food, you're already fucking up. All right. Yeah, but I just thought it was funny. He goes in there and just fucking changes the menu and fucking lets everybody cook the food that they want to do, and then all of a sudden all the old people ran, and it was nothing but younger people, and they go, "Oh no, this is great food." You want a vibrant clientele that has money, that comes in and has fun, and so you have a good environment in there. You don't want it to be like the waiting room to heaven. You know, that's that.
Yeah, it's like, nothing against old people, but if that's your only clientele,
it's not a good business plan.
No, because they're not going to last that long.
No.
So, I hate
and then eventually when they trickle away, you end up with a fucking out-of-date restaurant that has no living clientele.
Yeah, like no one will want to go there.
Imagine if you had an aspic restaurant. You could have done that back in the 60s.
That'd have been the hippest place ever.
Yeah, nothing but
been like them fondue places in the 70s. Places,
yeah. Fondue and aspic. Fucking ridiculous.
Oh my god, we should totally start a fucking chain called Fondue and Aspic. That would be so awesome. You could do like a total retro. I think you could make that work. You could make that work. But the food would have to be really, really good though. Yeah. And you'd have to like modernize shit, because you can't get away with doing shit like you did back then. It's funny because, we've talked about this a lot. I remember when I was a kid, it's like you could get Chinese food, you could get, Mexican food, you could get stuff like that, but it's just kind of like most people didn't really eat it. It's like when I was growing up, pretty much all you ate was pork chops, mashed potatoes, meatloaf, spaghetti. That's, you know what I mean? You didn't really eat a lot of quote unquote ethnic food, and not a lot of fresh food either.
Mexican food didn't go mainstream in the United States until the late 70s.
Yeah.
That's when it started.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember being a kid, my dad used to take me to a restaurant, a Mexican restaurant right there in Carson, California. It was near where the video store that, what's his name ended up working in.
Who, Tarantino?
Quentin Tarantino worked in a video store near there. It was called, wasn't called El Ranchitos. That was another one. El Ranchitos was a bigger place. I think this just called the Cantina something or other. And it was a small, kind of like a diner. It was at one time an American diner that got converted into a little Mexican restaurant. And man, fucking the food there was fucking good. It was good. And my dad would be like one of the few white guys that would go in there. It's all Mexicans. Yeah. Because, fucking, this is in the 70s now, early to mid 70s, so I was a little kid. People kind of ate within their ethnic group. You know what I mean? Like, hold on, you don't really trust that damn Mexican food. There's no telling what's in it. It wasn't mainstream.
But yeah, I remember. Well, I even remember when I was a kid, like my dad and my grandpa would be like, "We can't eat the Chinese restaurant. It's cats."
We don't know what they put in it. You don't know what it is.
Whatever.
A lot of it was the intimidation that you open the menu, you don't really know what it is.
And you don't know what it is. Even though it's not really that weird. I mean,
It was back then.
I guess so.
Because a lot of times the menu was not in English, it was in Spanish.
Yeah.
So you're like, what is this? And the waitress would I think part of it is that there was a cute Mexican waitress working there. I think it's part of the reason why my dad used to go to it. And she'd tell him what it was.
Oh, the secret comes out.
And, yeah, I think that's what the secret was. And she'd tell him what it was, and fucking just, Dad, give me that. So he was getting big wet burritos with the fucking, sometimes it'd be the green tomato sauce on there, sometimes it'd be the red salsa on it, or the tacos and stuff, the corn tacos and flour, little flautas and fucking all different kinds of shit. That was the first time That was the first time I ever saw nachos. I remember my dad was asking about nachos, didn't know what they were, and they made nachos for him.
How funny.
Yeah.
It's just funny nowadays because it's like ubiquitous.
Yeah, because what is nachos? I remember that.
What is nachos?
That's a good idea. Yeah, that's a good idea.
It is a good idea. It's a very good idea.
And what was funny about nachos from what I remembered, it was just a plate of tortilla chips with jalapenos on it. And I think it had the bean burrito stuffing on the bottom of the plate. And the cheese, if I remember correctly, was just that regular nacho cheese, like a kid that comes in a can. I think that's what it was. Poured on it.
Yeah.
It wasn't any kind of special cheese. It was like that fucking like that whey protein.
Yeah. Like the shit that comes in a can, like Old El Paso or
like Old El Paso. It was like something you got at the theater.
Yeah.
And it was
like that comes out of the thing.
Yeah. It's like that.
Which has its own charm, I have to say.
And that was in a Mexican restaurant, in a California Mexican restaurant.
Well, you could get away with it back then. Yeah. You wouldn't be able to get away with that nowadays.
No, but I think it had that on it.
Because they would be like, what the fuck is this
It's been a long time.
Yeah.
But they gave you big old bowls of salsa, and they were different colors. And my dad would go, God, that's hot. God, that's hot. And he'd keep eating more of it. Oh, this is good. It's hot. You know. My dad loved Mexican food.
That's really funny.
Yeah, and the El Ranchitos is even bigger. That was like going to Mexico. It looked like you were in a damn big old fucking, had a real high roof on it. If I remember correctly, it had fans. And it had all them damn paintings, all those banditos and all those fucking Mexican banditos and shit going around. Yeah. And everybody spoke Spanish. That was a good one. Back in the 70s. I don't even know if it's there anymore.
Probably not.
Yeah, it's called El Ranchitos.
Zach asked, what's the grossest place we've ever eaten? I can't really think of eating anywhere
Florida
that was
doesn't really have gross places.
That was super, super gross. If it was a long time ago and I don't remember it. I don't remember particularly ever eating anywhere and going and being like, fuck that place. I'll never eat there ever again. I mean, I've eaten places, like chain restaurants and stuff where I was just kind of like, that was edible. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's like that, but it wasn't bad. It just wasn't anything special. So I can't really think of any like really disgusting places I've been. So I guess I've been kind of lucky in that regard.
Yeah.
I mean, and growing up, we didn't have a lot of money, so we didn't really eat out a lot. It was kind of like a big special treat, to go to McDonald's or order a pizza or something like that. So
Gilbert Grimm saying, you love New Orleans, we didn't like the food. You know what's funny is that if you go down to the French Quarter, most of those little restaurants owned in the French Quarter are not owned by people from Louisiana. You'll have these fucking dudes from New York moving down there, all right, and not really knowing what New Orleans food is supposed to taste like or what Louisiana food actually is supposed to taste like, and are hiring random motherfuckers that they don't really control or can't really control and have them in the kitchen working back there. And then you did an investigation and those dudes cooking aren't from there, or they're not even cooks, and they just fucking pump out some bullshit to fucking tourists. The French Quarter is a tourist trap. If you want real fucking New Orleans food, you got to go to somebody's house. There might be a few restaurants out there, but you'd have to vet them yourself. Just showing up to the French Quarter doesn't guarantee that you're going to get fucking authentic food or good food.
Well, anywhere that caters to mostly tourists is going to be hit or miss. Hit or miss,
and a lot of the guys owning those, like I said, the people owning those businesses a lot of time are not even from there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he said he didn't like hot food. So a lot of like stuff is real spicy. Okay. Honestly, I don't mind a little bit spicy, but if it's too spicy, I can't eat it. It'll just like give me horrible heartburn. So, I never really super liked a very spicy food growing up.
Yeah.
It's just I don't like if it's so spicy that I can't taste the food anymore, where it's all you can taste is hot. I can't really do that.
Most of that so-called Cajun food is not Cajun food. Cajun is just country Creole, really. And the Creole stuff was a long time in the past and under a different fucking environment. Not much of that culture survives anymore other than the people in that area that remember it through their family. The cuisine is kind of lost. It wouldn't be something that would be real popular today. Most of it. Mostly what people are calling Cajun food is something that came from Paul Prudhomme. That's 1960s, 70s, around that time. And then modifications upon things that Prudhomme did, like taking that same style and kind of move it. So it's contemporary, I guess. Kind of. It's not real traditional or old or anything. There's a guy. There's a guy who's called the fucking the Cooking Cajun. His name was Justin Wilson. All right.
I guarantee.
I'll guarantee. Right. And Justin Wilson would be on PBS all the time, and I grew up watching him cooking. He was actually one of the first people to teach me how to cook.
Yeah, I used to watch him all the time.
He was kind of like the Bob Ross of cooking. He'd sit there and he's this old fucking cracker, all right, with his fucking little thing on, look like fucking, it's like a Cajun cracker, all right. You'll see what I'm talking about. And he would tell jokes in the middle of his fucking cooking and cook up stuff, and he had kind of a fake Cajun accent. He wasn't 100% authentic, really, okay? But he was at least having fun.
Yeah, he'd always go, "Hoo!
Ooh, wee, that sure am good." So we put a little bit of wine. We put a little bit more wine. And you take a drink of it. Put a little bit more of wine. You know. And all his stuff's on YouTube. You can watch it. Just go to Cooking Cajun, Justin Wilson. He'll come up and just watch him.
Yeah, I used to watch him all the time when I was a kid.
Each show's about 25 minutes to 30 minutes because there were no commercials on PBS. He was public broadcasting. And it was only for the South. The rest of the country didn't get it. And if you were lucky if you did. But the food that he's cooking, really, that's Cajun / Southern cooking. That's basically what they cook. And it's not that exotic. We're going to make taters au gratin. And then this is fancy French style potatoes. He's going to tell you a whole story about it. And then he's going to tell you a story about who did this and that. And it's all bullshit. It's all made up. And then it ends with some kind of a punchline. And then you feel like an idiot for listening to him. You know? It's fucking funny. Cooking Cajun. Go check him out. Tila would love the Cooking Cajun. He's fucking funny. And the older he got, the more ridiculous he got.
Well, you know.
Yeah.
As do we all.
Started black and white, and then it went kind of color. I mostly like the ones that were color and colorized. They weren't that old, or and it's just funny, telling you funny fucking stories and shit.
Brian asked me if I had anything good to eat in St. Augustine. Pretty much everything I had there was good. I think probably the best meal I had was at a place called Pizzali's. Mm-hmm. And it's like an Italian steakhouse type place. Yeah. And I had like a really, really nice like filet, and man, that was really, really good.
See,
and
T knows him. T knows him.
Yeah.
So she likes him a lot. Yeah, T knows what I'm talking about.
And there's a place there called the St. Augustine Seafood Company too, and they do like a really good fish and chips. Like the fish is like super, super fresh. Like you can tell that it just came off the boat like that morning, and then they fried it, and that's really good too. They have a sit down restaurant, and they have like a walk-in like counter service like farther down the street. But yeah, pretty much everywhere I ate there was good.
Tammy said he came on her PBS station. I don't know where that is. I don't know if you were in the South or not. My understanding that he was mostly on the southern ones. If you could get him outside the South, you were pretty lucky. Because some PBS stations were up north and they did like him. They didn't have anything to put in that slot, so they put him there. But it was mostly the South. And if you see what he's cooking, that's actually more traditional stuff that Southerners cooked from my dad's generation, my grandparents kind of like my dad's generation. And it's because the grandparents' generation was even worse, but you'll see what it is. It's all real familiar. You're like, "Oh yeah, I remember that one." Sometimes it's stuff you haven't had in a long time. But it's all very basic. Not real spicy, most of it.
She says middle of Pennsylvania in the 80s.
Okay. Yeah, you were lucky to get it up that high north. It was mostly south.
Remember that other guy they used to have on there, the Frugal Gourmet?
Yeah.
Was he from? I kind of feel like he was either from Maine or was he Pacific Northwest? I can't remember. But we had him as well. And
there was another thing. His name was called Yan Can Cook.
Oh my God, I used to love Yan Can Cook. He was funny. Yeah.
I think most of the country got
Martin Yan.
Yeah. Most of the country got him.
Dude was super entertaining.
Most of the country got Bob Ross.
Yeah, everybody knows Bob Ross.
The thing about PBS that I liked about the old PBS, this is in a time there was no internet. Fucking cable wasn't... Most people had cable, but some places you couldn't get cable. or it was still kind of expensive, PBS was the only way to escape commercials. It was a very, very relaxing. You could sit there and it was just a slow show that didn't have any commercials, and it didn't have those crazy ass edits.
Everything was super chill.
Everything was super chill.
I think it's the reason now that like a lot of people that like cooking shows watch like the Great British Bake Off and stuff, because it's just like a chill.
Very chill.
Because American cooking shows seem to be like wham, 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 like in your face like all the time, and it's like I can't really stand that either.
Right.
So I can see why a lot of people just kind of want to watch the more chill ones. But like you said, everything that was on PBS back in the day was just like so. I mean, you
chilled
had
out.
Mr. Rogers and all that kind of stuff. You had I used to like that one show. What the fuck was it called? His name was John something. It was called Bookbird.
Yeah.
And he would they would take like books. It was YA novels, so it was like for teenagers or tweens. And he would take a book and he would illustrate. Like they would read some of the sections of the book and then he would like illustrate them. Yeah. Like with his and it's like I used to love that shit.
Yeah. I've heard people in the comment sections talking about Justin Wilson and shit, and other people on PBS, Bob Ross, and they were saying that one guy commented on a Justin Wilson video that as a young boy, Justin Wilson got him through his life because he was from a real abusive, violent family, and that this was the only friendly person he ever saw.
Oh, that's really
Isn't that
sad.
weird? That for a while until he got old enough. It says that the only kind of friendly personality. Everybody else was
hostile.
Hostile. Yeah.
Holy shit.
Think of that.
Well, that's kind of what I mean when you think about it. It's like you can write stuff like that's just entertainment like that off, but you don't know like how much, like you said, how much that means to a person.
Yeah. Every day
somewhere.
he was just waiting to see the fucking Cooking Cajun because he was just in a hostile and very abusive
he was such a nice man.
Yeah.
He did seem like a really nice man. He's not still alive, is he?
No, he's
no, he can't. He can't be. So I was like, he was pretty old back then. Like when I saw him in the early '80s. But yeah, and I'd totally forgotten about Iain Can't Cook until you said that. That dude was funny too. He might. I don't know. He was younger back then, but I don't think he's still around either because that was like kind of a long time ago. Tila said he might have been from San Francisco.
Brian said the frugal gourmet was arrested for molesting like 6 or 7 young boys. I didn't know about.
Oh, was he really? Yeah. I didn't hear about that.
Yeah.
I hadn't really. I mean, I watched that sometimes when I was a kid, but he wasn't as cool as Justin was. Yeah. Like some of the other shows. And they had Julia Child was on there too.
Yeah.
Although that was slightly before my time, I think. Yeah, I don't remember all those PBS shows that they used to have. Remember that one where they had the family? It was almost kind of like early reality TV. Yeah. Where they had this family and they lived, what was it called? 1800s House. And they took a modern family and like made them live. Well, they didn't make them. They, obviously they wanted to, but they had to live like an 1800s family, like Little House on the Prairie style. Yeah. That was like pretty good too. Yeah,
they're talking about Iain Can't Cook. I liked Iain Can't Cook.
Yeah.
He came on a little bit later. I think I must have been about 16 or 17, I think, when he started coming on in PBS in the South. And I think he came on right after Justin Wilson or right before. I liked him too. He was good. He was real entertaining. Chinese American guy, and he'd fucking cook all kinds of stuff. I think it wasn't Chinese food all the time either. I think it was American food with a Chinese.
It might have been. I can't remember.
Like a mixture, I think.
I remember it mostly being Chinese food, but I might not have seen them all.
I think it was fusion, Chinese American fusion.
Yeah, maybe it was.
If I remember correctly, the stuff that Chinese stuff that you could make at home just with regular fucking easily sourced American components. Which most of it is, cornstarch, the ketchup, vinegar, rice wine vinegar, how to make an egg noodle, that kind of stuff.
Tammy said there's a YouTube channel called You Suck at Cooking, which is really funny.
Yeah, sounds good.
I might have to check that out. I should watch more cooking stuff on YouTube. I never get around to it.
Yeah, I stumbled into Justin Wilson a couple days back. Was watching a couple of those. Yeah, it was good to see him after a while. Yeah.
Now I kind of want to watch some.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It'll bring back my childhood.
Bring back memories.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
All right. So.
Let's go ahead and shut it down.
Yeah, because I'm getting kind of sleepy.
Yep.
And actually, I kind of want some more of that rice. Okay. I just had a little bowl.
Yeah, it's good.
A half hour before we started, and I said I'll get a little bit more in a little while because that was the first thing I'd eaten all day, and I was like really hungry. But yeah, so we'll be back tomorrow afternoon, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll probably talk about a movie, or I don't know what we'll talk about. Like I said, we didn't have anything to talk about today, and we went on for more than an hour, so
Yeah.
there we go. But yeah, thanks everybody for dropping by. Have a good rest of your weekend, and we will see you guys again tomorrow. Bye.